Well, hello, folks. Congratulations for making the cut in the final ICT mentorship enrollment. You are group 2021. You are the last group of my paid mentorship. I'll be retiring as a paid mentor when you all complete your charter membership enrollment. So after that, hopefully my life will be a whole lot easier. So let me briefly explain why this video is being produced for you, so that way we can make better use of our time. In my endeavors over the last 2 decades teaching, I've tried different ways to help students get organized, do things that would instill in them organization, and that way your studying is more efficient. Me personally, I draw everything out by hand. I'm a little bit artistic, and I like the high touch over high tech. For you as a student, I would counsel you to use the approach I'm going to show you here. Now, you can make it more elaborate and a lot more streamlined than I'm going to show you here. This is just a basic approach to it, and the spreadsheet download will be accompanying this post. It'll be in the link right below the posting for the link that you click on to watch this video. So what you'll be looking for is growing gradually throughout the mentorship. Now, there's going to be a ton of information. There's going to be times when you're going to be scared. You're going to feel like you're overwhelmed. It's not a race. It's a lifestyle now. Okay, so you just got to relax, take your time, and consume the content responsibly. So in other words, you're not trying to binge watch like on Netflix. You just want to go in, pick a lesson in the order that the content is delivered each month. Try not to skip around and go from the top of the page down. All right. Every single Wednesday and every weekend commentary that I post, you should be watching that, because it's giving you real time what I think is going to happen in the marketplace, my opinions on what has happened and how it should be used going forward. And I'm also keeping you on side with bias. Okay, so I point to where I think the market's going to go, and also I teach in these commentaries as well. The core content, the lessons that you get each month, while you study those, you're going to have questions that come up. And what do you do with that? The first impulse is you're going to want to email me. And I've already mentioned this in the details. I've already mentioned it in the advertisement posts I did on my social media such and YouTube posts, that 99.9% of any email question that's sent to me while you are a paying student, it will be most of the time answered with, that is taught in future lessons. And sometimes students get offended by that, and they feel that they're entitled to get an answer to this question that they feel is so pressing. And I do not teach ahead of the schedule. In other words, the curriculum that is in place, I follow that very hardcore. And for instance, if you ask me a question that would be more or less month 4 or month 5 in its content or basis, and you're only month 1 or 2 or less than that particular month, I'm just going to say very short, or my staff will respond to you, that lesson is taught in future lessons. It will not be, it's taught at this lesson, this video, this minute marker. Okay. And the reason why we don't do that is once you get into the mentorship, you're going to see how many videos it is. It is a vast library. So because of that, and it's always increasing every single week, you as a student have the responsibility of being organized in the collection of the information. So while I make the videos and the lectures available to you for streaming, you should be very diligent about taking notes. And if you have a question that arises, you need to record the question in your study journal. And that's what this spreadsheet is. Okay. It's one form of having a study journal. Now, it's not limited to this, but it's meant to get your imagination moving. And you may start with something like this and say, you know what, I think I'm going to do something else. There are trading journal applications out there, and for the life of me, I can't remember their names because I don't use them personally. But if it does something like this, I'm going to show you, then by all means use that. You are not limited to whatever I suggest here. It just means that if you don't do something like this and you just watch videos and you don't do anything with the information that's being presented to you, you will be wasting your time. You won't learn, you won't develop as fast. Not that we're trying to speed you along, but you won't have an efficient growth curve if you just watch videos and don't take any action with recording your observations, your questions, logging your questions. And you're going to be amazed by going through the content. You're going to get answers to questions that you have recorded. And when you get that answer, you go back to your study journal in that location and you record your observation or your discovery or where you found the answer to that particular question. Many times it will create new questions and you'll log those as well. And what this does is it allows you to measure your development. Because otherwise, if you just watch videos, there's really no way of measuring how much you've gained in your understanding because you're just binge watching. Try not to treat my mentorship like Netflix, because anybody can sit down and watch a full series of something, multiple episodes, but you're not going to be retaining everything. And something as technical as this, you want to be retaining everything. And it's not realistic to expect you're going to retain everything the first pass through. But when you go through the first pass, in other words, first time going through the content, you really want to be diligent about what things are brought to your attention, what things feel like they're lacking in the description, because there isn't a deep discussion on every facet the first time I introduce it in the content. It gets built on with additional lessons that complement that particular concept. And it's not because I'm trying to hold information back or make this process longer than it needs to be. You're going to see that there's so many things that tie together for something as simple as a ICT breaker or a fair value gap or a mitigation block. Those things are individual components, and they are only useful and high probability when they're nested with other things. Okay, so those other things have to have their own individual teaching too. And then once they're all introduced individually, modularly, then in other lessons, I can bring them together so that way everything dovetails beautifully and you'll have a better understanding. So it just takes time to develop things over a period of time. But the whole time this is all going on, you're being shown real time what the market should be doing. And that is where you gain experience. You're borrowing mine. I'm pointing to something in the charts. I'm saying that this is what should take place in the charts. And then you observe every single day and you record those observations. So every Wednesday and every weekend, you must, in addition to every single video that you would normally digest each day in the content, you need to watch these videos. So if you go into, for instance, the videos for January and the one I just posted for today, for January 17th, 2021, the review covers these currencies, which is basically our triad that we use as the routine ICT mentorship. In addition to these, sometimes I'll throw in other markets, but for the most part, it's these three. I'm teaching you price action, so it's not a signal service. I'm not trying to cover every possible market out there. I'm teaching you how to find everything you would need from one or two markets. And each weekend edition, I give you a price action lesson. Sometimes if I feel really generous and time's permitting, I'll put a price action lesson in the midweek review as well. But don't expect that one. Just usually it's an update on what may transpire the rest of the week and what has transpired in the first half of the week. But every weekend edition, you're going to have a price action lesson. And I try to give you an idea of what the topic is, but you should not just lean on that when you record it in your journal. You want to break down the lessons in subtopics, and certain things I'll bring in discussion, certain ideas or concepts. They will be best recorded in your journal with your observations, what means the most about what I said to you, and what you feel that you're struggling with, and then you record that. And then what will happen is, once you have an answer to something, because you'll be watching a video and something will come up about a breaker, okay, or a buy-side imbalance, sell-side inefficiency. And you may have been confused about something, and then I will say something in addition to whatever I'm discussing on a chart, and then it'll, just like that, it'll happen. You'll have an epiphany. You'll have that moment where, oh, that's what he meant. Or maybe it's, for instance, a lot of questions come around order blocks, like why do I use the wick and why do I use the bodies of the candles? And I cover that in different areas in the mentorship core content, and periodically I'll dress it up in the commentary videos that you get each week with me. When traders get that answer, right away they feel like they've gained a whole lot, because most of you are coming in here with just order block, order block, order block, and you're going to discover that's just small. It's just a small piece of it. But you want to be as detailed as you possibly can with your notes, okay? And you don't need to be wordy. You can if you want to be, if you're that type of person, but you want to keep the points of focus short and concise, and only focus on the facts and not record anything emotional. Don't try to record anything that, if you're frustrated, don't say, I'm frustrated, or I feel stupid, I didn't see this, I don't know why it's taking me so long. Don't do those types of things in the journal, okay? Your subconscious will recall that every single time you open up a chart or watch a video, and you're conditioning yourself to have a negative response to being a student here. And it's just a way of tricking your brain into being self-defeating. All right, so anyway, when you watch the videos, as soon as you start the video, you want to have a pen and pad handy. And then whenever something comes up, a question, whatever, pause the video and write down your concern. You might get your answer later in the same video. Most of the time it's not that way, but you want to record every observation or question you write down in your notepad. You want to record that in your study journal. Now, if you are trying to be as efficient as possible, you can work directly into the spreadsheet as you're watching the videos. That to me is the best way of doing it. But some of you like to download things and watch it in your commute. You may be watching it on your phone or whatever, and you're going to find sometimes that's not the best way of doing it, because not every annotation or idea I'm sharing or expressing in my charts is going to be that visible in a small little frame of your cell phone. So just be mindful that if that's what you're doing or intend to do, it's going to create extra work for you by watching the videos multiple times. The first time going through won't be enough. So once you've digested the video and you've already collected your concerns or questions, you're going to go to your spreadsheet and you're going to transpose all of your questions and concerns. So month one, everything that you study in month one content, you want to record in here. Okay, so raised questions, for instance, one might be like this. What makes a low resistance liquidity run high probability? Because you're going to hear these expressions in my commentary in those lessons. So the question is going to be, what specifically makes a low resistance liquidity run high probability? And I sprinkle these ideas and concepts across all of the content, because I have to refer back to things. I already know 90% of what you're going to have in terms of questions, and I know usually about where they're going to pop up. It sounds arrogant to say it like that, but it's true. But you have to submit to the process of going through the videos in the order I gave them to you. You're going to find that 99% of your questions are going to be answered in the core content. Once you're a charter member, you'll be able to participate in the forum, share ideas, and ask in broader terms what it is that you're lacking. And then as a group, we'll be able to go in and tackle those as a community. But once you have all your questions here, you want to leave some room underneath it and then do whatever next question or concern arises from watching that particular video. Accompanying the question, you want to have the title of the video that you watched that made this question arise, And then you want to also record the minute marker. So if it's an hour and 35-minute video and it happened to be at the 1 hour and 12-minute marker, then that's what you would record here. So that way you can go back when you feel like you got the answer. Sometimes you might think you got the answer to a question, and you go back and you listen to me say something again, and you're like, oh yeah, it got close to it, but didn't quite get the answer I'm looking for. It will be something you can record and log additional information in, but you'll leave the question open still. And then what will happen is eventually I'll answer it somewhere. And I know some of you are in here thinking that you're going to be able to ask me 20,000 emails a month, and I'm going to be able to get right back to you and answer them. And I want you to think about this for a moment, okay? Imagine if you had tens of thousands of people all around the world, all at different time zones, all emailing you individually, that you only could answer the questions. Your staff can't help you. No one else can answer it for you, but you have to be the only one to respond to every single email. How many emails could you do in 12 hours a day if you slept for 12 hours and ate and did what you had to do? You couldn't do very many of that. And that's my life. Okay, I have so many people that not are even mentorship students, but I have so much correspondence. I have brokers that reach out to me. I have other people that want to work with me in collaborations, and there's all kinds of things that are coming at me all the time. And I don't have the time. I literally don't have the time to sit down and answer every single individual email. That's the benefit of being a charter member, because you'll be able to converse with other members that have done all the things that you're going to do. And I observe the exchanges between these individuals on the forum, but you can't post in the forum until you're a charter member. It keeps everything uniform. It doesn't cause confusion and chaos. You'll know the language by becoming a charter member, but you get there by going through all the core content, and then also not wasting your time just by going through the motions and submitting to the time it takes paying each month. That's the minimum. The expectation is for you to be in here taking detailed, copious notes, making sure that you're taking this serious, but still having fun along the way. But also being flexible and understanding that you're not going to learn everything about an order block the first time you see the videos about them, okay? It's a vast subject, but I keep everything moving with the weekly commentaries, with real, right now market environments. So you practice by following along, using what you learn in the content each month, and in the weekly commentaries. As you develop more and more, you'll gain in your understanding. You're going to be tested every single week by you marking up your charts, and then I will show you what my chart looks like. And that way you can see, are you graduating into a more closer perspective about price that I have. It takes time. It won't be exactly like mine, but you'll start seeing I'm getting closer to what Michael's doing. I'm getting closer to what he's showing in his charts before he shows it. And it just gives you a way of constantly referring to how much you're progressing along. Because if you don't do these types of things, it's going to feel like I know so many things just because he says them, but I don't know what to do with it. And you're going to feel disoriented. You're going to feel like it's information overload. And just give me the buy and sell. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get a frustration point, and it's going to be like, I need you to tell me what to do, or I'm just going to quit. And that's going to be a decision that you need to make on your own. But to avoid all that frustration and that feeling of, I can't handle it anymore, I'm just going to tap out, it is easily managed by having a measured, balanced approach to taking notes and keeping it organized. So you do this for every video that you watch in the month one content, and even the additional lesson commentaries that I have in each month too. So you have 8 lessons, then you have all of the daily videos that I was doing at the time. Now, those videos are very generic, and I go through the pantomime of what it would be like for you to be watching the charts. That's what I was doing with the group in 2016. Try not to read into that as I'm telling you what's going to happen next. I do that with the commentaries. Okay, when I say I'm very accurate in my analysis and what I'm expecting, I'm always referring to this area here on the forum. So all of these lessons in here and commentaries, this is the part that I'm referring to all the time when I'm publicly saying I'm pretty much on side all the time. Not all the time, but in the high 90s. So as you go through each video, you want to record the video, the location in the video that made you think of something that was a question or concern, and then your best description of what your issue is with what I said or didn't say, or why I specifically focused on one part of a chart and not something else that you would have expected. It's going to be very hard for me to give an illustration like that, because I get questions all the time like, why did you pick that down candle and not this down candle for your order block, bullish order block? And some of those questions just need to be answered by watching me do it for a couple months, okay? And you'll see right away, because many times, as you'll see in the commentaries, I'll more or less anticipate what you're thinking. I'll say, okay, I'm looking at this here. You watch this. This is the order block. And you're probably saying, Michael, why did you buy this one? Or Michael, why did you pick this candle? Or why are you talking about this one and not this one? You'll see I do that in the commentaries. So you'll find many times I'm answering a question and you might have thought while you're watching the video. But in the core content lessons, that's not happening as much, because it's a deep dive in understanding what I teach. And I have to do it in small little modular lessons, and anticipating every answer given to you in every individual lesson is myopic and it's unrealistic. And again, you'll see when the library opens up to you how much is available to you and how it grows each month. So you'll do that for month 1, and then month 2 all the way through. Each tab has a month, the same thing. All you're going to do is add new questions and any answers. And then when you get to a charter member, same thing here. Any concerns, any specific points of frustration you have about any particular trading model, you'll learn 12 trading models that are just very basic. They're very, very, very generic. But it gives you a foundation to build on. And it may not be the very foundation that you start with, but it may inspire you to say, oh yeah, that's kind of close to what I was thinking, but I'm going to use this, and this from what I learned, and then that's going to be my model, and I'll use the other logic in this particular price action model that Michael has explained, and that'll be my unique model. So you'll see there's a lot of flexibility. But there's also lessons beyond the trade models. There's the trading plans, the individual trade plans, and then the algorithmic theory, which is what charter members will be going through and learning in 2021, and those lessons will be made available to you immediately once you're a charter member. And the last thing here, or not the last, second to the last, is any epiphanies that you have. This is a tab that you want to treat as like your treasure trove. All right. I have journals that go back way beyond trading times. Before I started trading in 1992, I had dream journals and things of that nature, and just personal journals. There are moments that you can relive by going into those specific dates and reading your recordings about what took place at that time. And it's amazing, in your own language, in your own words, in your own handwriting. If you journal, you can go back to that moment like time travel and have that unique experience of reliving it all over again. In this area, you want to kind of treat it like they are the crown jewels of your development, because they really are. And it's also going to be a source of inspiration for you when you have periods where you feel like you just haven't gained anything new. And a lot of new students are going to have high expectations on themselves and me, that they think they're going to like go supersonic and learn so fast, and they're going to be able to go out there and start trading with live funds in a month. That's not realistic. Just know that that's not realistic. But anything you discover that you feel like is monumental for your development, you want to go in here and just record that in your own words. It doesn't have to be really, really long. Just, I discovered when to use the body of the candle with bullish order blocks, and write the date and then record how you felt about it. Doesn't have to be long, but do that and just make logging in this area when you have something that you feel like you have reached as a milestone, and date it, and then just keep adding to it. And then by having the dates to it, you can literally go in a spreadsheet. If you hold down Control and tap F, you can go in and put in individual specific words and or things that like order block, okay? And it'll take you to every instance in this area that you mentioned order block. So you can, or if you log it with a date, like for instance, January 17th, 2021, it would take you right to that specific area, and then you can see what it is that you discovered that day. And it's just a nice way of keeping things organized. And then finally, your daily study logs. Now this is where you're going to do most of all your work, okay? Every single trading day, you have to do this. If you do not do this, you are not going to do well. It's going to make it very long and hard for you to retain what you're learning, and you're not practicing. And the way you practice is to do things like this. If you don't do it, I promise you, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, and you're going to quit. That's just what everybody does that quits. They never do this part. And it's not hard, but you do have to get used to doing it. It's like anything else, like a habit, you got to form it. So what you do is, let's assume for a moment that you have marked up your chart, okay? And or you like what I've shown in my chart and you want to do a screenshot of it. Once you get a screenshot of it, you can take it over to your study journal, but you yourself need to be recording your specific observations, because when you start in this mentorship, your charts are not going to be that meaningful. Over time, you're going to start seeing things in your charts and you're going to annotate them, and they're going to be much more meaningful to you. And you'll see, by contrast, when you first started doing it versus where you are in month 4, month 6, month 9, once you're a charter member for 1 year, you're going to see how much you have developed, because you can visually see it. And you'll also see what you're focusing on initially when you first come in. You aren't probably as interested in or even fixated on, because you're doing other things that are much more salient to what it is that you do as your individual trading model. But let's assume you're using TradingView, and that's the medium that we use in this mentorship. Say you have your chart the way you want to have it. You just click on the little camera symbol up here and then click Save Image. Once that pops out, do a right mouse button click and then click Copy Image, and then go back to the area on your spreadsheet, and you're going to type in the date that you're doing your log, and then the tab underneath it, or cell, you're going to paste what you just copied. It'll throw the chart right in here, and that way you can now log what you have for that particular day. And then you'll just keep on adding the next day. For instance, you would be January, well, tomorrow's the 18th, so January 18th, 2021, and you keep recording it. Now, in addition to just the date, to be organized, you want to put in the name of the pair or whatever market you're looking at and the time frame. So this is a chart of the 60-minute dollar index, and it takes you right to the tab or cell that begins that. And you can be as descriptive as possible. You can put the name of the market, that you're using any kind of chart on, or any specific concept like breaker or BISI, SIBI, something to that effect. And that way, if you ever want to research all of your observations on a particular subject matter, then as long as you made like an additional reference to what it is in close proximity to the chart, then you'll be able to find every instance by hitting Control F and then find next, and it'll help you go right to it in the spreadsheet. You don't have that benefit if you do everything like I do, and I'm just too stubborn to change to something like this. For me to change now, I'm a dinosaur. I have leather journals out the wazoo, and it's just, I prefer doing it that way. But for you as a student, and with all the technology at your disposal, it would be foolish for you not to make an attempt really to be organized like something like this. And again, this is just a suggestion. If there's a medium out there that I'm not aware of, and it might be, I just don't know, but you want to be able to record your journals with a way where you can go in and search it, but your charts need to be saved on a day-by-day basis. And you want to be saving a daily chart, an hourly chart, a 15-minute chart, and do that for every market you're following. That's why we only look at three: the dollar, the British pound versus the dollar, and the euro dollar. Once in a while, I'll ring in something else, but for the most part, we stick with that triad. And that's all you need to learn trading. And then you take that information and apply it to other markets. It's the same thing. Same thing with trading index futures. Same thing if you're trading commodities. It's all the same. And you're going to learn that by being here for any length of time. You'll discover it's pretty much what you're learning how to do. You'll be able to sit down in front of any market, any time frame, and read it and know what it should be doing next. And I think that's going to be it, folks. I'm excited to start with all of you. There's so many of you. It was intimidating seeing how many was coming in. And I'm just very thankful that you have, number one, trusted me, that you had this much interest in learning from me. And I'm promising you, if you stick with this, you're going to learn things you would have never imagined even existed. So until I talk to you on January 27th, be safe.